Today marks the 8th anniversary of Swami Kriyananda's passing. This is April 21st of 2021, and his passing was on April 21st of 2013. And I wanted to share a brief tribute to Swami Kriyananda, who has provided the greatest spiritual influence, the greatest spiritual blessing in my life. And I imagine for many of us, we feel that the blessing of his life and what he gave to us, what he shared with the world, very strongly, especially those connected with Ananda, the work that he founded. But his influence goes far beyond any organization, and he himself could never really be bound by anything earthly or worldly, such as an organization. His consciousness was always reaching out to embrace anyone and everyone that he could possibly serve with Master's energy, with Yogananda's blessing. I wanted to touch on a simple thought, because we could wax very eloquent, and this evening we will share a more formal tribute to Swami Kriyananda and his legacy and his life. I was reflecting, we tend to celebrate 3 occasions in Swamiji's life. We celebrate his birthday, May 19th. We celebrate the anniversary of his discipleship on September 12th of each year, September 12th, 1948, when he took discipleship to Yogananda. And then we also celebrate this day, the day of his passing. And it struck me that the natural theme, the natural tendency to think is, on his birthday we celebrate his life. On his discipleship day we celebrate discipleship and his discipleship to Yogananda and how that influenced his life and by extension all of ours. And on his passing, the day of his passing, today, we honor his legacy. And legacy, as we may typically think of it, as an inheritance or, some gift. And I'd like to suggest one simple way that we look at his legacy. Because yes, he wrote books and music, and he founded communities and, took thousands of photographs and created slideshows and created multimedia programs, and he was extraordinary. He was even a painter. He was extraordinarily prolific in so many ways. And yet, his real legacy, in a sense, is none of those things. The communities that he founded, yes, they're valuable and very viable in this world, an urgently needed example of how to live together in harmony and cooperation. A living laboratory, very, very helpful and relevant. But in the deepest sense, his legacy is you. His legacy is me. His legacy is all of us for whom he represents a spiritual influence or a spiritual guide point. A spiritual lens is how I have come to look at his life, because he came to show us an enlarged view of Yogananda. When we read Autobiography of a Yogi, Yogananda's autobiography, we're touched by this lovely spirit of humility, and we see in Yogananda's story all the saints and masters that he met and was blessed by. What we don't necessarily get from that book is the spiritual power that he brought to the world, and particularly to the West, since he spent much of his adult life in the West. And Swamiji came to help us to understand that and to feel that. And Swamiji's life was so powerfully an example of that for us, because he was constantly reaching out. And so today, of all days in the year, I would suggest that we tune into his legacy inside of us. Because for each of us, he planted a seed. He planted a blessing that, if we nurture it, can grow into not just a single giant tree, but a whole forest full of them. And we have to nurture it, yes. We have to, provide and create the environment around that. But that blessing is his real legacy. And so honor that legacy today and really throughout the year. But today in particular, I would suggest that we tune into that legacy and try to feel, what is it that he gave me, and how can I best live in consonance with that, or in attunement with that, and grow that blessing to share it with others. Namaste.